Magandang araw kapamilya. Welcome to Proyekto Pilipino. And today we have a very important topic. Napakahalaga ho nitong pag-uusapan natin ngayon dito sa ating Civics Education Program. Ito pag-uusapan natin ang barangay. At ito ho ay napakahalaga kasi itong darating na Oktubre, no? Meron tayong barangay elections. So mahalaga na malaman natin ang kahalagahan hindi lamang nung darating na eleksyon, kung hindi ang kahalagahan ng barangay sa ating demokrasya. So tayo ngayon ay mapalad na ang isa sa mga ating masasabi natin authority na pag-usapan ito, ang ating panauhin ngayon si Atty. Monsod na ipapakilala ni Manolo, no?
Okay, sa Proyekto Pilipino, ilang beses na natin pinag-usapan ang barangay. Kasama na rin dito, ilang beses natin pinag-usapan ang ating saligang batas. Ang dahilan kung bakit nasa saligang batas ang barangay ay mapapaliwanag sa atin ni Christian Monsod dahil siya ay isa sa mga miyembro ng Constitutional Commission na inappoint ni dating Pangulong Aquino para isulat ang ating konstitusyon. Siya rin ay namuno sa COMELEC, Commission on Elections, at naging isang bahagi ng NAMFREL na tagabantay ng ating mga eleksyon. Kaya nandito si Ginoong Monsod para ipaliwanag sa atin, unang tanong natin siguro, ano ba po ang pinag-usapan ninyo sa Constitutional Commission pagdating sa barangay? At ano ang layunin ng ating konstitusyon na gawing pundasyon ng ating pamahalaan ang barangay?
Well, if you pagbabasahin po niyo yung ating constitution, ang mga important ay mga mahalagang provision ay yung sovereignty. Nasaan ba talaga dapat ang empowerment ng ating mga kababayan? And yan is sovereignty sinasabi sa Pilipino. Now, during yung Constitutional Commission, pinag-uusapan namin yung layers of government na napaka-importante na yung level of government na pinakamalapit sa mga kababayan natin ay malakas at talagang tunay na represents yan ang ating mga kababayan. Nandiyan yung tunay na power of the people is in the barangay. Kasi yan ang pinaka barangay is the pinakamalapit sa individual Filipinos, hindi ba? Yung barangay. In fact, maraming mga kababayan natin, wala silang connection sa gobyerno except the barangay. And kaya importante, yung barangay must reflect yung talagang tunay na mga hangarin at mga values ng ating mga kababayan. Kaya importante yan. Tingnan ninyo, for example, yung Article 2, Section 1, yung sovereignty resides in the people. Yung Section 16, yung dapat may anti-dynasty law. Yung Section 23, that encourage community-based organizations ang ating political system. Tapos yung provision sa public office is a public trust. At anong kailangan, may integrity, honesty, patriotism, and lead modest lives. Sa ating mga kababayan. Article 13, Section 15 and 16, that is ang tinatawag na addition dun sa due process of law. Tinatawag na due process of law, equal protection of the law, that there must be consultation mechanisms sa people's organizations na kasama sila sa decision making at the social, economic, and political system. Nandiyan lahat sa constitution yan eh.
Let me ask you, dahil you were there from the start, kayo bale ang nag-midwife sa ating konstitusyon, kayong mga author. But nagkaroon din kami ng episode na may kinausap kami mga barangay chairman. At ang realidad, ang totoong nangyari sa mga barangay, medyo napalayo siguro dun sa intensyon ninyo nung sinulat nyo ito. Having observed it over decades, gaano kalayo yung intention from the outcome? Ano yung napansin yung pangangaiba? Paano siya naging malayo? And where did it stick to your intention? Where did it succeed?
Well, I'll tell you, sa akin, ang pinakamalaking obstruction dun sa magkaroon tayo na tunay na demokrasya, yung system of political dynasties. Yan matagal na yan na dapat na-dismantle na yung mga political dynasties. Pero the opposite has happened, na mas malakas pa ngayon at mas marami ang political dynasties. And sila ang may hawak ng kapangyarihan at sila may hawak ng budget. Kaya marami mga provision natin na so-called social reform na maraming loophole. Tapos sila underfunded by government. And ito buhat nung 1986, ang pinangako natin sa mga kababayan natin, hindi lang pagbalik ng demokrasya, kundi radical social change. And every administration since 1986 has failed to deliver social change sa ating mga kababayan. No? So, sa akin, nasa konstitusyon lahat. Kaya kung may isang pinagbibintangan nila ang konstitusyon, sabi ko, hindi yan ang problema. Ang problema, implement ninyo fully ang constitution. Kasi nandyan yung social justice with the poorest center of development. Nandyan yung never again any authoritarianism. Never the Filipino economy dapat ay nasa kamay ng Pilipino, hindi sa iba. No? Ang mga prinsipyo dyan. At saka sinabi nila, pareho lang yan ng American Constitution. Mali yun. American Constitution is about civil and political rights, period. Because sila, country of immigrants. No? Tayo, ang ginawa ng ating Constitution, primary also, in addition to civil and political rights, are social and economic rights. Yan ang kaibahan ng ating Constitution sa US. And the center of development is social justice. Ano nangyari sa social justice sa ating bayan? Hanggang ngayon, basahin niyo lahat ng mga index, and I'm sure you're looking into this, no? Manolo, yung Economic Intelligence Unit, let me just do the Freedom House, World Justice. We are failing. We are failing in addressing inequality, particularly. Ayan ang main problem natin today. And the dynasties have deeper roots now than before. That's why we have to go back to our beginnings. Let's start again. Kasi there is something happened during the epidemic. During the epidemic or pandemic, napakita na yung communities at the ground are capable of transformation, so that the transformation of our country will start from below. Lagi na tayong naghahanap, sino ba ang presidente natin, sino ba ang senador and so on. Parang from the top to the bottom ang transformation. Hindi kaya natin Kaya lang, kailangan bigyan natin ng tulong at inspirasyon yung mga mahihirap sa barangay level na, hey, kayo may karapatan. Kayo talaga ang dapat na base ng ating democracy. You must control the barangays.
Can you
Yung
give
mga
examples
poor
nung pandemic of where this happened?
community
Ang
parties. Yung community
community.
parties, di ba? Ang daming communities na yung meron tumulong doon sa wala. Nangyari yun in the communities themselves during the pandemic. Number two, yung during in the past few elections, parang meron tayong new breed of mayors na incorruptible at bata. Hindi ba maraming mga bagong mayor na ganyan? Tapos meron tayong mga political dynasties na nawalaan ng pwesto. In other words, nag-iisip din yung mga kababayan natin. Kaya lang, kumisan, natatakot din sila. Kasi sa mga dynasties, hindi natin makontrol yung private armies. At they use that, at saka yung patronage, clientism. For example, yung barangay election, ilang beses pinuspone yan?
O yun nga, Christian, let me ask you. biglang nagdesisyon ang Korte Suprema at sabi ng Korte Suprema, hindi tama itong pagpo-postpone palagi ng barangay elections. And in fact, inutos ng Korte Suprema na kailangan na ninyo gawin ito sa madaling panahon. Can you walk us through
Yeah, pero
yung
that's a
bakit
very
nagkaroon ng why there was this decision and what it implies?
Alam nyo, yung ano is about power. Kasi, for example, ang election I think was 2013, merong schedule 2016. Pinospone nila yon sa 2017. Tapos, dapat 2020. Pinospone yon sa 2022. Tapos pinospone ulit sa 2023. Bakit? No? Para gusto nilang hawakan yung mga barangay. And it's a lot of money. Patronage yan eh. And it's about power. Tama yung Supreme Court, but it's a very soft decision. Di ba? It's not unconstitutional to postpone. Kasi that's a power of Congress. And you know, among us, well, this is going to be public. But have you read the study about the Supreme Court that's done by Cambridge University? And one of the authors is a faculty member of UP Law, Christina Bonoan. It issued in January. In-examine nila ang record ng Supreme Court on 70 what they call geopolitical issues, 70, involving and analyzed the voting of 86 justices. Etong conclusion, number one, that generally, yung newly appointed justices vote in favor of the government, about 60-65%. But there is one thing that comes out na lumalabas na very short. Yung mga appointees ni Duterte voted with the government 90% of the time. Now, if you take a look at our Supreme Court today, 13 are appointed by Duterte and only 2 are not. Right? Now, at saka medyo may marunong itong si Duterte nung bago siyang akit sa kanyang posisyon, he appointed old justices.
So he could actually appoint 2.
Yes.
For each.
So that's why he appointed so many. And then when he was leaving, he appointed young ones who will be there for 10, 15 years. And maybe that's also one reason that the present president is very careful not to step on the foot of.
Sir, I want to tack back a little bit dun sa ideal, yung vision nyo of a barangay that promotes social justice. So we've already actually talked about, yung mga balakid towards that, yung dynasty, of course, yung patronage, yung infighting ng mga politiko, and even itong mga delays sa election. But in an ideal world, what is a good barangay? What are the attributes of a good barangay that address these principles of the government?
A good barangay is one that serves the real needs of the people. That's why there are some.
What does that look like po? Like concretely, para
I'll tell you, because if you talk to the at the barangay level, which I do to my farmers and indigenous peoples and urban poor, parang nawawala na sila ng hope that real social change will happen. And to them, what is important is the daily struggle for existence. What are these? Drugs, criminality, corruption, delivery of government services, and number 5, in the urban areas, the traffic problem, because it costs them 3-4 hours to go to work and 3-4 hours to go there. If somebody who addresses these problems, and the extrajudicial killings is the one that comes to our mind, no, right away, na yung extrajudicial killings, ano sagot ng tao? O nga, against kami dyan, pero at least bumaba yung criminality sa aming lugar. O wala na yung mga drug addicts na nandyan paggabi. Na parang sinasabi nila, meron naman nagagawa dun sa everyday problems namin to survive. And yung dream or vision of equality is far away and maybe never come. Pero yung aming everyday struggle, importante sa amin yan. Yan ang dapat addressin natin na eventually, if yung political dynasties must get more power and more money, our democracy will die. Pero, but you have to contend with the fact that pag merong ginagawang mahusay at the level of the barangay on making their life easier, quality with this criminality, drugs, and corruption. Kung ikaw ang mahirap, anong pipiliin mo?
Yun nga po, pagboboto po sila, kung pipili na po, ano po may papayo nyo? What are the attributes of a good barangay captain, for example?
Ako, ang dami. But at least we'll tell them na the quality of your life needs improvement, and meron mga barangay captain who do a good job, right? Pero over the long run, we will not have real democracy until we have a new generation of leaders who come from the poor. And dapat yan mag-umpisa sa barangay level. Okay.
Christian, I don't want to make it too theoretical, but ang naging experience namin nung in-interview namin ng mga barangay chairman, yun nga, wala sila masyadong, kahit sila mismo, wala silang masyadong panahon para pag-isipan ang mga national na problema. Sa kanila, basta kakampi mo ang Pangulo, importante yon dahil ang Pangulo magpapadala ng pera. Tapos kung paano mo gagastusin ang pera, yun naman ang pananagutan mo sa mga botante. But ang mga botante, as you mentioned, ang gusto nila mga practical na bagay. But here's the question. Paano natin itatawid ang lokal sa pambansa? Dahil may connection din ito. There are many examples where gusto natin ng kinukonsulta ang mamamayan. Gusto natin na demokratiko ang proseso. Ngunit ang publiko mismo naiinip. At ang gusto nila, kamal na bakal, mabilis at gumagalaw ang pamahalaan, at kung may balakid, gigibain at hindi na pakikipag-usapan. So paano natin itatawid ito dahil kung okay naman yung barangay chairman mo, but suportado niya ang isang pangulo na hindi interesado sa demokrasya, for example, paano naman yan?
Well, if you know what's happening in the rest of the world, it's the same thing. That that the people are more concerned about the daily their existence, like inflation. That to them it's a very basic issue, inflation. So when we talk about dismantling the political dynasty system, parang malayo yun, ano? At saka in many countries now, the leaders, they're looking for yung leaders who are capable of drastic solutions. Correct? Marami dyan. Pati sa atin, hindi, masyadong mabagal yan eh. O sabi sa akin, sir, yung pangalan na yan 35 years na nandiyan sa politics, hindi naman nagbago yung aming sinasabing yung equality. Pero ito, wala nang criminality ngayon. Di ba? Ganun, di ba? Yan ang ating, that's what we're facing. And we have to talk to them and say, you're right. The quality of your everyday life is important. Your safety, you're able to eat, address hunger, and so on. Pero isipin naman nyo yung mangyayari sa anak niyo at mga apo ninyo. Kung ang karapatan at yung pamahalaan, yung power, political power, ay magiging concentrated in fewer and fewer families na eventually wala na kayong magagawa, wala na kayong power, you'll be helpless. So it's difficult, correct? Difficult. And that's why we need the church. We need the church to work it out, to talk to the people na sinasabi na you must also look at the future. The basis.
But Christian, just to be clear.
The second is municipal. Huh? What? No,
just to be clear, sa konstitusyon natin mismo, ang barangay obligado na magkaroon ng mekanismo para sa konsultasyon. Hindi po
Barangay
ba?
assembly. Yes.
And
That's
then kailangan din bukas ang kanilang pintuan sa mga non-government organization, sa mga
civil
grupo
society.
ng mamamayan.
Correct.
So kahit hindi nila gusto, kahit hahaba ang panahon, kailangan ito.
Yes.
So pag botante ka, would you suggest that this is something na isang batayan ng isang botante pagdating sa barangay? Pwede nilang tanungin ng mga kandidato, meron ba kayong sistema para kausapin kami? Bukas ba ang inyong pintuan kung meron kaming grupo ng mga nanay o mga youth and that sort of thing? Would those be legitimate questions?
You don't even have to ask. Tanong niyo, ano ba ang quality, ano ba ang buhay ninyo the past few years? Kinukonsulta ba kayo o hindi? Right? Dinadaan ba sa pera at takot? O pinakikinggan kayo kung ano talaga ang gusto niyo? Kasi kaya may mga kaso kami, there are some, mayroong mga barangay officials who side, like, we have a case in Hermosa, Bataan. Pero usually yung barangay captain, nakukuha sa pera ng mga politician. Binibigyan nila ng konti yung mga mahihirap, and it happened to us, when we arguing Hacienda Luisita na 500 pesos tinanggap nila, tapos bumoto sila ng let's keep the system, yung corporate system. Alam mo, sabi nila, pero at least kakain kami 2 araw. You know what I mean? How close that is,
Mm-hmm.
And they play on that. The politicians play on that. The political families, because they have the money. They have the money. But we have to tell the people that but think of the longer term. Isipin naman nyo ano mangyayari sa ating bansa, ano mangyayari sa mga apo ninyo. Kung pababayaan ninyo yung ganitong klaseng system of government. And it will take a long time. First, the barangay elections. 3 years later, include the municipality. 3 years later, include the national and senatorial. It may take 12 years, 15 years. Yan ang kapalit. All of us need sacrifices. And we talk to civil society organizations, NGOs, and so on. And when I talk to them, I tell them, what are you willing to give up for the poor? What are you willing to give up? Diba? Because they say,
Christian,
self-sacrifice is a currency of love. Diba, Father?
Yeah. Christian,
So
can you give, have you come across any barangay that has masasabi natin pwedeng maging modelo, no? I mean, of course, walang perfect model, but what would be closest in your encounters, no, with the barangay?
Yeah.
Can you cite some stories, na nakita natin gumaganda yung takbo ng barangay, So,
well, example lang din sa Valenzuela, we had a urban poor group. They were totally controlled by the head of which is really a barangay, with money and use of force, And so they came to us, and we went to the mayor, who was Rex Gatchalian, who, by the way, is a very good public official and WD. And eventually, after about 2 years, they won the elections for the officials of the unit, 1,500 families. But it took 2 to 3 years for us to be able to achieve that.
yeah. So what were the things na ginawa ninyo? Ano yung mga steps na ginawa para
First of all, you have to make sure that they're protected from violence.
Okay.
And that's where the mayor and the PNP come in. That's why I always strive to know the PNP. And I had a very good experience, for example, with General Albayalde and even Bato de la Rosa immediately after 86. I went to him and I said, napatay yung aming leader sa Palawan. And he attended to it. He attended to it, and we finally got the one shot. Unfortunately, we did not get the cooperation of the Department of Agriculture at the time, because the warrant of arrest was issued to the one who shot, and was issued to the Department of Agriculture head in that area. Siya mastermind ng pagpatay ng mga ng aming tao. And I went to Palawan. And I asked the police, ano ba nangyari dito? Hindi nyo na-serve yung warrant. And sabi sa akin, sir, mukhang nagkaroon siya ng natimbrihan siya. Up to now, he has not been arrested. Up to now. How many years that? 8 years? He has not been arrested. But at least we had the cooperation of PNP at the time.
Tsaka mayor, the mayor is crucial, Christian? Very crucial ang mayor din.
Very crucial. Very crucial. In fact, if you look at the budget, ang pinakamalaking share nung tinatawag nilang something like 2.29 billion something is the municipal million. Malakas ang mayor. That's why, but you cannot change the mayor unless you control the barangays. You start at the barangay level.
So those dalawang element, local government and then the PNP. How about on the ground? On the ground, what concrete experiences ba yung nagawa ninyo with the people, And I guess the potential leaders,
Sa amin lang, attend to their needs, whatever it is, like yung harassment cases, for example, you have to go to Secretary of Justice. Yung ginagawa sa kanilang yung ang tawag dito, yung mga mayayaman at malalakas, they go to convert their land. So all of a sudden, they convert the land. Ang kalaban mo ngayon, yung mga malalakas sa gobyerno with respect to the land. We're fighting one now in Bataan. We're fighting the one in Palawan. Fortunately, for example, in the case of Palawan, remember that 40,000 hectares of pasture land of the Euros, pasture land by Marcos, 40,000 hectares, right? And then there was a move to have 12,000 hectares declared as agricultural land because it's not really pasture land, And the Euros clung on to keeping the for the pasture land. And that's long. There was Supreme Court cases and so on pending. But now we are told that the Euros have withdrawn from trying to recover the land. So at least there's a first step, right? At least yung 12,000 hectares can be already, because agrarian reform has covered it, and there is this whether it can be distributed or not. At least we can go ahead with the 12,000, and then we look at further, because maybe more of the 40,000 should be distributed to the farmers. And it takes a long time. It's step by step, But I'm very happy about the new Secretary of DNR. And in a forum, she also said that she is looking, and she has the correct values. I listened to her, and I was very impressed with her what steps she's doing. So we're now awaiting an audience with her with respect to our foreign farmers, na kung pwede ituloy na yung ng Agrarian Reform Department, yung coverage and distribution. Can you imagine? Years. It takes years. 5, 6, 7, 8 years before the farmers can get their land. That's the system.
Christian, in all this, yung barangay was active in our
case, we have a case in Hermosa, in Bataan. The barangay captain sided with farmers, and he is being attacked and threatened. So we had to go to PNP and say, please take care of them, protect them, because there are guns there and somehow they have arms. And the PNP said that they will.
Yeah. So to a certain extent, in the examples that you gave, parang kailangan ng external intervention, to bring about, well, one, just issues, but the long-term changes, di ba, is how do we address that, no?
Okay.
Yun nga, Father, I also wanted to weigh in kasi parang yung problema na nakikita natin dyan is that the barangay is effective dahil malapit sa tao, but it's only, many times it's only effective insofar as tinutulungan siya ng mga national agencies like the
Yes.
PNP in this particular case. So how do we balance that? How do we, address that conundrum?
This is how I approach, and this is what I tell our people. We are intermediaries. What is our job? Our job is to provide. I always tell lawyers and even NGOs and so that we are only intermediaries. Our job is to empower the people with whatever connections or knowledge we have today, and this is part of our job. And once we have the poor have been empowered, like for example, let's help them winning the barangay elections, and we are no longer needed because they can they can go fight for themselves. They have the power already to act for themselves. Then we step back and we let a new generation of leaders to take on. Sometimes yung mga intermediaries, they want to continue in that position that they're the connection to power and so on. No. For example, General Albayalde, right? We had problem in 4 provinces. I called him up because I happened to have met him. I wish he was not a good friend. And I said, we have a problem, sir. The PNP is questionable what they're doing. And he said, bring them to Manila. So I brought seven heads of organizations to Manila, all of them women. 2 of them had lost their husbands. They were killed, right? So we were there. There was the whole contingent of PNP, legal, administrative, regional, and so on was there. And they said, okay, we'll start. I said, no, I'm not going to speak. I want the 7 leaders to speak. And I watched them talk about their experiences, and I could see from the eyes of the PNP people how touched they were. So they gave all of this. After that, they said, Chairman, anong ating steps? Sabi ko, two steps lang. Number 1, please share your iPhone numbers with these leaders so that they can contact you directly when they need help, don't have to go through me. Second, I said, go back, check if the facts they're telling you are correct or not. And if they're correct, please help them. So it went on 2 to 3 months. I was getting reports saying, sir, okay na kami dito. After a while, they had the good relations with PNP already in those 2 areas. 4 provinces, Negros Oriental, Negros Occidental, Bukidnon, and one more in Visayas. And after a while, they were exchanging report directly and so on. And no, so I was no longer needed. Right? They were empowered. That's how we should do it. Tell the NGOs and CSOs, fine, but you have a role to play. And after that, gave way to the new leadership that come from the pool.
Yeah.
So sir, you're also kind of proposing perspective on the part of civil society na wag laging nakatuon dun sa mga national problems. Wag laging nakatuon dun sa national government. Dapat pag magi-engage kayo, ini-engage nyo rin yung local government. At you make sure that your activism is a form of activism that empowers local units like the barangay.
Right.
How do we push that perspective, not just sa mga people, not just sa mga residents ng mga barangay, but also to people who are activists and who want to see social change?
The first thing I tell the activists and saying, how much are you giving of your wealth to the poor? What are you willing to give up for change, for social change? Because then dami, and then nagbigay, magkano binigay mo? Like business, 1%. Philippine business for social progress. Sabi nila, we raised what 40 billion, and I said, yeah, that's 40 billion over 8 years, right? And is that enough? It's not. What else are you? You should, sabi nga, di ba, you should not give of your excess, give from your substance. We have to do that. And the church was here. I must tell you two incidents that I'm sorry that this arose. Like when we were fighting for Hacienda Luisita, uh, and I went to the bishop who's in charge of Talag, and I said, Bishop, the CBCP has not issued a statement in favor of the farmers. NASA has, but not CBCP. They're awaiting your recommendation. And sabi sa akin ng bishop is that, no, alam mo, sabihin mo sa mga farmers na pinagdadasal ko sila at ako'y kampi sa kanilang na ang gusto nila mangyari, yung hangarin na lupa dapat. Pero I cannot issue a public statement kasi yung mga Tuhanbos are very generous to the church.
Mm.
So I did not get a statement from CBCP.
Yeah.
Laguna, during the time when 2 UP students were murdered, boy and a girl, and they came to me, the parents of those two, I was committee chair, and said, so, yung PNP po, mali yung direksyon ng kanilang investigasyon. Ang dapat investigasyon yung mayor yung mayor Monsod, and the famous Mayor Sanchez, right? I went to the Archbishop and I said, can you use your influence on this? Because I'm not sa local to change the direction because they're the parents of both students, sabi mga jealousy, hindi daw yun. And he said, my prayers for him and so on, pero alam mo, si Mayor Sanchez is a devotee of the Virgin Mary. I cannot come out directly on this. Fortunately, we got the right guy, right? And he was jailed. But what I'm saying is, Father, if you look at the church, and I think Churchman Shivi, the credibility and the leadership of the church is waning, the influence. I'm not sure. What do you think? Why is that? Why is that?
Well, one is right before the elections, there's this study, yung trust trust sa mga institutions. It's interesting because this is around a year and a half before the elections, no? And the church ranked highest pa rin in terms of trust index, But ang pinag-uusapan, Christian, even among the church people, is we know that a lot of people in the last elections campaigned for VP Lenny, so ang pinag-uusapan, bakit hindi kung ano yung galaw ng leadership ng simbahan hindi tugma, hindi parang sumabay doon sa boto ng tao, so that's one question that the church is going through now, so what do we need to look at, what do we need to do, knowing that disconnect, so that's a big debate going on, Christian, that's siguro ang term na gagamitin natin, soul searching, there's a lot of soul searching going on, but I think the desire to become more rooted in the lives of the day-to-day lives ng tao nandun. In fact, what would be the right way to do that? Ano ba yung tamang pamamaraan? And then isang pinag-uusapan namin, Christian, on ground level, paano natin madidirekta ang mga tao sa serbisyo ng gobyerno na nararapat naman sa kanila, This is the local level, So I think yun yung sinasabi mo earlier na kailangan tugunan yung mga pang-araw-araw na masasabi natin. Christian, ang tawag namin diyan ay malapit sa bituka na issues, so kailangan tugunan nyo. And I think the church is going towards that direction. And then, I don't know, did you come across the Jesse Robredo, yung ubas? Yung ugnayan ng barangay at simbahan? I don't have really that much experience about that, but I just heard about that. It was started by Jesse Robredo, ugnayan ng barangay at simbahan. And apparently, they tried to revive that for this administration, pero ang problema wala sa budget ng DILG, so I don't know if you come across ubas, that ugnayan ng barangay at simbahan.
Well, that's a good move. Pero yeah, that's what. But what I'm saying, like some bishops say, yeah, pero we cannot be partisan. And I said, fortunately, barangay election is a non-partisan election. And you know, it doesn't matter what party or affiliation she has. It's not party politics. So you
Oo.
have, you know, young of the poor, you can help them and inspire them because first of all, they're afraid. So, you know, talk to the PNP and so on and so forth. And if you have problems with talking to people, tell us, you know, we will go up. Uh,
Christian, ano, no? Siguro kung maano ko lang, so,
sa akin it's a question of really getting involved in everything, not just, oh, may ubas kayo dito. You know what I mean?
yeah, hindi, but Christian, yun na nga. Maybe what we can talk about now, what are some concrete examples and concrete steps that people on the local level can do, no? In preparation for the upcoming barangay elections, ano? For example, I'll give you another example na pinag-usapan namin in my home diocese, ano? Isang napansin namin is that kasi 'di ba we give formation sa youth leaders, etc. Tapos napansin namin through the years, giving them socio-economic, political, cultural formation. Pagkatapos nila, kasi may age yan sa youth ministries ng simbahan. Pagkatapos no, nire-recruit sila ng mga political parties. No? So pagka natapos na yung formation, and they become very effective. No? Now, question of yung direction nila after that, so I won't get into that. So minsan napag-usapan ng mga youth leaders, bakit hindi na lang tayo magtayo ng ating sariling parang hindi man partido, no, but let's become more organized after, rather than being recruited or being co-opted into political parties, so maybe that's one lang example, no, but ano yung
That's a
siguro
good.
baka magandang pag-usapan natin, ano ba ang concrete steps na pwede natin mabigay bilang halimbawa sa mga barangay communities, yung talagang ground level communities, to prepare for their participation in the coming barangay elections, no? Maybe you can weigh in, Manolo and Leloy,
Well,
My
sa akin
my
kasi,
step one.
No.
Go ahead. My step one. You know, our parish priest here was assigned to Cebu. And I asked him, I had breakfast with him and I said, what are you doing about the elections in October? Sabi niya, wala. That's beyond ourselves. No, I said, but it's important for you to get your parish leaders and say, we need good young poor people to run in the barangay elections. And let's identify them, talk to them, and say we will help you, and so on and so forth. And really mobilize votes for them. Yes, not parties, but for people who deserve it. Because many of the young people are afraid, or the parents are afraid for them to get into politics. Kasi baka mapatay lang yan or something. So we have to strengthen that, and we have to give them, first of all, protection. It's really a problem at the ground level. Second is, it's about money, right? Nagbibigay ng pera sa kanila, and so it's a very short term, but they need the money. So you also values and organizing at the parish level. It's not yet being done by the church, which they did in 1984 to 86. Ngayon hindi. Done at the parish level at the way it was done in 1984 to 1986, where the parish priests were really active in organizing people for a non-partisan organization, NAMFRED, to protect the ballots. And there were 9 casualties there of NAMFRED. All of them came from the poor. I went to 55 provinces, and this is my experience. Sabi sa akin ng mga mahihirap, sir, ito po ba talagang makakatulong ibagsak ang diktatura? Sabi ko, kung gagawin natin yung protektahan ng balot, malaking pag-asa natin yan. And then my rich friends came to me and said, we're willing to die, but if you have any connections with the U.S. Embassy, can you get visas for my wife and children to get them out of harm's way? That's the difference, correct? The poor said, saling po kami. But you know, eventually, the rich people did participate with their wives and children. That's the good side. That's the good news that happened. And that was the only time, that's my remembrance of EDSA, where the rich and the poor, you know, handheld, right? They went together and worked for return of democracy and social change. So it was so inspiring to see that. I don't see that now.
Well, sa akin, siguro sa pagwawakas natin dito, palagi natin pinag-usapan sa Proyekto Pilipino ang bakit at paano. Ngayon nakikita natin na talagang masalimuot talaga ito pagdating sa barangay. But there's one thing that always strikes me. Kung magsisimula tayo na bukas ang ating kaisipan, um, makakahanap tayo ng mga kaalyado sa mga lugar na hindi mo maisip na nandun sila. Isang halimbawa, nagbibigay ng mga halimbawa sila Christian at iba pa ng ah, mga opisyal, mga politiko na nakakatulong kahit ang background nila, hindi mo maisip na magiging bukas ang kanilang kaisipan. Isang problema sa lupa, yung isang pamilya ng may-ari pala ang isang magiging susi sa pagwakas ng isang problema. Ang isang anak ng negosyante na hindi naman kilala sa pagiging bukas palad ay nagiging epektibo at bukas ang kaisipan na uh, pinuno sa kanilang lugar. Um, I guess it starts with what Father Tito always says, which you have to have the dialogue. You have to have the doors open na pwede tayong makipag-usap. But you also have to have the knowledge. Yung sinasabi ni Leloy na, kaalaman, bakit ba tayo may barangay? Ano ang silbi ng barangay? At paano ka pwede makilahok upang gagampanan ng mga pinuno at kagawad ng barangay ang dapat nilang gawin. Dahil hindi naman nila kaya ito mag-isa. May maraming pressure, katulad sinasabi ni Mr. Monsod. But kung nandun tayo, hindi lamang sa araw ng botohan, kundi sa araw ng singilan, malaking posibilidad ang makakatulong tayo dito.
Sa akin, ang isa yung barangay assembly na twice a year. I don't know if that's one coming now. Let's just encourage people. Mag-attend naman kayo para ng boses.
Yeah.
Yan ang umpisa niyan eh. Tapos, then ma-observe nila sino yung tumindig na tama ang sinasabi bata. Tapos, lapitan nila, pwede ba tumakbo ka, tutulungan ka namin. Yan, it's a step by step change here, right? And I expect people who claim to be intermediaries to think also, Manolo, di ba? Lagi na sinasabi, paano namin gagawin yan? You go down. Right? And you do you attend barangay assembly?
Yeah. So tama yun, Father. Agree ako dun, no? Sa panahon ng botohan, sa panahon ng singilan, sa panahon ng meeting, sa panahon ng pakikipagtalastasan, dapat nandun tayo lagi sa barangay. Hindi pwede pupunta na tayo sa barangay pag may kailangan tayo na barangay clearance. Pag meron tayong kailangan galing sa kanila, kailangan pupunta tayo doon para makapag-dialogue sa mga tao doon. Dahil doon din natin may kilala yung mga kapitbahay natin, doon din natin may kilala yung mga kaproyekto natin bilang Pilipino, pero kaproyekto din natin bilang mga kabarangay. At yun nga, sa panghuli, yung ating mga political intervention, hindi pwedeng lagi tayo nakatingin sa Malacanang bilang mga organizer, bilang mga NGO, bilang mga aktivista. Dapat nakatingin din tayo dun sa local level at kakausapin din natin sila. Anong kailangan nyo sa amin? Paano ba kami makakatulong sa local governance? At paano ba kami makapaglingkod sa ganung nivel? At kung ang pag-iisip natin ay both local and national, sa tingin ko marami tayong problema na ma-address bilang mga Pilipino.
Okay. Thank you, Leloy. Thank you. Siguro mahalaga rin yung I'll pick up dun sa sinabi ni Leloy na talagang mahalaga na pumunta sa komunidad, lagi tawagan natin, 'di ba? Ground yung talagang close to the ground, 'di ba? Kasi yun na, ano ba yung kailangan, ano ba talaga yung kanilang magagawa. Alam niyo, merong siguro kung mabahagi ko lang 'to. Merong proyekto Christian ang DSWD. Sabi mga salamat at swerte tayo na si Secretary Rex Gatchalian ang nandyan ngayon, Halimbawa, merong proyekto sila na ini-implement na galing sa World Bank, no? Malaking grant something like 10 or 12, I think 10 or 12 billion pesos, no? Pero ang bibigyan ng grant ay third class municipality. Okay? At kailangan yung municipality ang mag-identify ng kanilang pangangailangan. So si Secretary Gatchalian ngayon kumakausap ng iba't ibang mga NGOs kung paano makakatulong, no? Pero alam niyo sa kanya, 'di ba Christian, ano yan executive yan si Secretary Gatchalian, Rex Gatchalian, 'di ba? Pero makita mo Christian, hinimay niya Hinimay niya ano ba yung entry points, 'di ba? Nitong mga NGO. At itong a-assign ko sa inyo, itong i-offer ko sa inyo, pwede niyo bang tugunan ito? Kasi ito yung kakailangan ng mga tao, no? So I think that's one way to look at it. And siguro isang approach din 'yon, lalo na sa mga NGO, kung kaya ninyong kausapin yung level ng LGU, 1, level ng mga departamento, 2. Kasi 'di ba Christian, may gano'n meron namang magagaling na tao diyan sa iba't ibang level ng gobyerno, no? Pero kailangan din talagang sabi mo nga kailangan mag-isip, kailangan na planuhin, 'di ba, ang pagkilos. Pero sa tingin ko ang pagpaplano nagsisimula sa mga tao. Ano bang kailangan ninyo? Ano bang gusto ninyo? Ano bang handa ninyong gugulan ng panahon ninyo at sasabayan namin kayo, no? At siguro sa ating mga tumutulong Christian, kasi ikaw, 'di ba, you work with NGOs. Ako, I work with the church. I work with Caritas Philippines. Kailangan din, at least I will speak for myself, kailangan din mag-adjust na kung minsan kasi naiisip natin, ito yung magandang proyekto, ito yung magandang solusyon. Pero pag kinausap mo yung mga tao, that's why Christian, meron kami, ma-advertise ko lang, meron kaming ngayon, annual giving sa Caritas Philippines, no? And the idea is to help programs on ground, But for us to implement that, Christian, para tayong 84, 86 ito, iikot ako dun sa 86 dioceses. I will be going around the next year or 2 years, going around all 86 dioceses. Kasi sabi ko, I'm going around the General Assemblies now So andyan dadating dyan mga 8 diocese, 13, itong last kong pinuntahan. Pero sabi ko, gusto kong magpunta sa diocese ninyo. Kasi iba yung nakikita mo, nakakausap mo yung tao kung saan sila naroon, pero siyempre, Christian, ang sinabi ko, Manuel and Leloy, sabi ko, pupunta muna ako dun sa mga diocese na pwede kong gawan ng the coalition of the willing na gustong gawin ito. Ayoko muna kausapin yung mga may resistance, di ba? Sabi ko, makakuha lang ako ng 5 o 7 ngayong taon ng willing, game na tayo. It's a start. It's a start. No? And I think, Christian, you put it very well. Matagal to Matagal to. So, that's why to a certain extent, my experience, and I've worked with excellent mayors, don't get me wrong. Pero hindi mo rin matatanggal sa mga politiko na ang iniisip din nila is the 3-year cycle election, di ba? Pero merong mahusay na mga politiko rin na confident sila na tama yung ginagawa nila. They don't need to watch their back, Kasi alam nila. But siguro yun yung huli kong masasabi, Christian, na yung matagal to We need the patience, we need the perseverance, we need siguro constancy Hindi tayo titigil, Constancy of what we feel is right. And yung number 2, very important, prudence. Constantly discerning, Ano ba yung tamang galaw? Kasi kailangan pupulsuhan mo lahat And then from there, game, di ba? Let's see the prudence to make the right choices all along, Sabi nga Christian ni Pope Francis, sabi niya ganun kasi nabanggit ni Christian sa umpisa na ang isang oportunidad natin ngayon na magawa ang social change, yung hangarin at masasabi natin mitiin ang ating saligang batas ay ang social reform and transformation. Ang pandemya ay isang golden opportunity to make that the entry point. Sabi ni Pope Francis, alam nyo, itong pandemya isang krisis na hindi natin pinili. Pero sabi niya, ang taong dumadaan sa krisis, kailanman hindi lalabas na pareho. Never. Either magiging mas mabuti ka o o mas magiging masama ka. So sabi niya, para lumabas tayo bilang isang human family or bilang isang mundo na mas mabuti sa pandemya to, sabi niya kailangan natin makakita ng malinaw, pumili ng tama, at kumilos ng maayos, no? To see clearly, choose well, and act right. Siguro tugma yun, Christian, sa sinasabi mong karanasan mo eh. So sana nga matuloy.
Can I just say that, I always describe this, you need the persistence and courage and so on of a long distance run. Hindi po ba? All right. Secondly, surveys show that our people want social change, but they're against a coup d'etat. They're against charter change to extend the terms of politicians. They're against what they call, government na promoted by the left na it's a government that will temporarily be there for a while. And, they want change through democratic means like at EDSA. That is there's there, right? There we have a glimpse of what the poor want. They want democracy, right? They want democracy, but they want change. So sa akin, when we were organizing Manfred, I would go to the businessman I trust, or the bishop or whatever it is, and say, in that locality, who is the most influential? Who do they respect the most in that municipality or in that barangay? And you talk to him, whatever he is, rich, poor, political party or not, and you get that person to organize. Who is the person most respected in the community? You ask the parish priest, you ask the head of the council of the laity, you ask the head of the business community, and then you work, and then you approach these people, get them into your movement. That's the only way to do it.
Yeah,
we have to people who are committed, real change, because that's what the poor want, and they want it through democratic means. And we tell them that's elections, and elections is in October. That's democratic means, right?
And siguro nga,
this is the way to get power peacefully through democratic ways. And it will take a long time, but we will win eventually.
Yes. Thank you for that very hopeful. Siguro rin, Christian, isang dagdag ko lang as we wrap up. Ang barangay elections is a non-partisan political exercise. So mahalaga siguro na maisip natin 'yon, no? So Christian, maraming salamat for your time and for all the stories that you shared, and we pray that sana nga marami kang muling ma-inspire na lalo ng kabataan, para mukhang si Winnie ay umaano sa likod mo, sumisilip si Winnie sa likod mo. So
looking at your faces.
Dapat pala pinagsalita natin si Winnie sandali. So, but Christian, thank you very much, and more power to you, and please keep on doing what you're doing, and hopefully we will find the right group to start this. 'Di ba? Namfrel, 'di ba? Light a candle in the dark. Yon, dagdag. Pasara na natin 'to, Christian. Sabi ni Pope Francis, we have to be light. Sabi niya, and remember, light will overcome darkness always, and never the other way around. So maraming salamat, Christian, Manolo, and Leloy. Mga proyekto, maraming pong salamat. At siguro po, magpa-follow up kami ng diskusyon na ito sa next episode para mapalalim natin, at siguro mag-iimbita rin tayo ng mga ibang tao na kagaya ni Atty. Monsod na bumabad sa mga komunidad, at siguro mabigyan tayo pa ng maraming ehemplo. Maraming pong salamat. Ito po ang Proyekto Pilipino. Maraming pong salamat.